Meeting of Scottsdale Parent Council. Emmy, did you still want to lead the pledge?
Okay, let's, oops. Oh, I did still on. Okay. Okay, we can rise for the pledge, please. The flag is over in the corner over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then our land acknowledgement. As we gather for this meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. We wish to acknowledge this land on which this SPC meeting is taking place. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Hohokam, the Akim O'odham, and most recently, the Salt River Pima Indian community. Today, this meeting place is still the home of many indigenous people from across Maricopa, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this land.
Okay, so tonight's agenda, we're going to start with an extended question and answer session with Dr. Menzel, and we'll also be joined by Dr. Karen Benson. And then after that, I'm going to give, with the help from my executive board, a kind of overview about SPC with a focus on what we have to offer SUSD families, and then we'll end the meeting talking about events that we have coming up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our question and answer. If you have a question and have not turned it in, feel free to bring it up. Okay. Any plans for another survey about pushing the start of school back to late August? Please, please, please. August 2nd is too early and too hot. I second that.
All right. So, I prefer to stand, but thank you. The issue of calendar is one that Dr. Benson and I have been talking about. We've had a fair number of let's talk comments and concerns about how early school started. I went back and looked at the thought exchange from when the calendar committee met back in January of 2021. And indeed, there were many parents who raised concerns about starting so early. What I was told at the time was that there were equally compelling arguments by staff and others wanting to preserve the full week of fall break in October, along with the full 2 weeks at the semester break, and then a full March recess for spring break, trying to get 180 days in and before Memorial Day, figuring out the other holidays that are in there, and we end up with the date that we had. But we are a district that's committed to reviewing and improving all the time. Next year, we start August 7th, and so part of it was just a product of the way the calendar fell. But we're also going to go back and look and say, okay, are there other tweaks that we could make in the calendar that would address the concern with respect to how early we start? It's unlikely we'll ever get back to a Midwest kind of schedule where we start after Labor Day, because that means you have to end after Memorial Day, and I haven't found a single person who's advocating for going beyond Memorial Day. So we will look at it, though. I do understand that that's an issue and concern for families on a number of fronts, and so it is on the table for review. We do have, I think, a more favorable calendar next year, but then we'll look at those things. Yeah. Good. Yes, exactly. It's a thankless job to be on the calendar committee, is all I know.
Okay, Dr. Menzel and Dr. Benson, you could weigh in here too. How has your role changed now that Dr. Benson is here?
Well, I don't have to do anything. Just kidding. No, the goal in having an associate superintendent was to organize. If you had seen our org chart before, we had an assistant superintendent overseeing ed services, one overseeing secondary and one overseeing elementary. And from my perspective, those are all part of one team, thinking about teaching and learning as our core focus. And so through attrition, when Dr. Hagi got left, we modified that position, created an executive director of elementary ed. We still have an assistant superintendent for secondary, but when Dr. Guerin left, gave me the chance to create the associate superintendent position. Actually, it was on the books, just not filled, so that we could bring all of teaching and learning under one umbrella. So having Dr. Benson here creates the opportunity to have a person who's truly the number two in the organization, whose focus is on teaching and learning. How do we improve outcomes for students? By having her here, it gives me the opportunity to focus on other aspects of the operation. I'm still deeply committed to teaching and learning, but there are also partnerships that we need to build, connecting with our community, thinking about how do we grow Scottsdale Unified School District. So having her here creates more opportunity for me to do some of the things that, without having a true number two, might have been more difficult to pull off. Dr. Benson.
Well, and I appreciate that. I don't know exactly how his role has changed, but I can share with you that it's been fantastic to have the opportunity to work more closely, not just with Ed Services, but with the building leaders as well. So as Dr. Sakos and Margaret Cerna oversee the principals, when our principals ask for things like a more coherent and aligned school improvement or CIP template, we can work with Ed Services and leaders, and there's just kind of a coherence and alignment to the work that we're all focusing on at the same time. So it's been an honor to come back. I appreciate seeing parent faces again. Was familiar with our parent council previously, so it's good to be back. And very much appreciate getting to work with multiple stakeholders and listening a lot and aligning our efforts so we're not working harder but smarter wherever we can across the district. So, great question. Thank you.
With all the new safety and security measures, has there been any? Oh, no, it's okay. What is it? Something about safety during drop-off and pickup? I noticed students running across the streets and parents parking in unsafe places on the street. I know this is not only Mojave, but all schools. I can also second that.
So you're not supposed to out the people who wrote the questions, but.
Sorry. Sorry.
So the start of every school year presents some unique opportunities to relearn what are appropriate patterns of behavior that are safe drop-off and pickup, that don't circumvent established patterns of practice, but sometimes people get impatient. We're continually monitoring that. I appreciate our security team. They are doing their part. We have a new director of security in Josh Friedman, who is working across our campuses to address issues related to safety and security. But if you see something that's disconcerting and you don't think it's being addressed, I would encourage people to put that in Let's Talk. Josh has worked to be really responsive that way. Our principals are responsive. And so if there's something that's not been attended to now that we're in the third week of school, flag that and we'll make sure that it gets looked into so that we don't have any accidents, at least as best we can avoid them.
Okay. Can you provide an update on the new public records postings? Also, how much staff time is spent working on public records requests, and how do recent months compare to past years?
So in terms of the public records requests, we've been, as a school district, using GovQA to process and record records requests that are submitted to the district. What we decided to do beginning in July of this year was to post the records request, identify who submitted the request, and the status of the request being filled. What that did is increase the level of transparency. 3 years ago, when I first got, the year that 2019-20, the year I was hired, we had about 109 public records requests. Last year, there were 319. So the numbers have tripled in the last 3 years. And when you look at the kinds of requests that we're getting across the board, some were redundant, people asking for the same kinds of things. We have people who make records requests on other people who made records requests. And it takes a lot of time to answer the question. And so we were tracking internally how much time it was taking. We are all for transparency. That's a part of good governance. That's not an issue. We are concerned when people take public records requests and then weaponize what they gather by taking select pieces of what's in the public records request and sometimes telling a story that's not reflective of the full story. And so as a part of our commitment to transparency, we put that information out there. Not everyone liked that decision, but you can, as an individual, you could request who submitted a public records request on anything. That's all still a matter of public record. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to provide an environment that is nurturing and supportive for our students, for our staff. We want to create a sense of community in Scottsdale that is respectful of diverse opinions and diverse beliefs and perspectives about what's happening. And the public records law was not designed for a social media age and wasn't designed in the way that it's been utilized. That's my 2 cents on that, so it's an op-ed piece. But what we did is just make that part transparent. And I don't have the dollar figure, but I can tell you that it's hundreds of hours. And when you get an email request that, or a PR request for emails that generates more than 2,100 records, and then those all have to be reviewed to see what can be submitted in response, what has to be redacted, what's responsive to the PRR and what's not. That's just a lot of time, and we actually have to outsource a fair amount of that for legal to review before we can be responsive. And so those costs mean that that's money not spent on teaching and learning or on our kids, but in response to those PRR requests.
Okay, this question is about homebound services. For children who need it, how can we increase the hours that they receive from the district?
That's a good question. I think it's dependent on what the homebound situation is. Is it driven by their IEP? Is it driven by a medical condition that falls under 504? If you want to talk more about the process for that, Dr. Benson. I just think the specifics matter. So it's not a blanket. There's a floor. There's a minimum that we have to provide. But I do believe that there's a way to look at specific, unique circumstances as well.
And if there is a situation in a unique circumstance where persons are have a student receiving homebound services and we don't believe we're receiving enough, would want to know about that, we actually have varsity tutors through our ESSER dollars, to support kiddos that are outside of school. So that would be something that we could coordinate and get more support, and we'd want to know about that. So if we know of persons that aren't receiving enough support there, would want an email, Karen Benson, to help you out.
Okay, what is the teacher and support staff shortage looking like?
So support staff is a really difficult road for not only us but all school districts. So bus drivers, if any of you want to drive bus, we should have applications when people come for SPC. Nutrition service workers, paraprofessionals, we are constantly hiring in those areas. It's just difficult to find people willing to do the work, and just enough even applicants to do that. From the teacher perspective, it depends. In most places, we're staffed, but we still have a few that we're looking for. So special education has been difficult to fill, but we got very close to getting fully filled. We have a number of other hard-to-fill areas. So you think math, science, and some others, we continue to look. But we've been better on the teacher front than on the support staff, and we'll continue to do what we can to provide competitive wages, do what we can to attract and retain top talent. But if you're a nutrition service worker and you can't afford to live in Scottsdale, you're not going to apply to work up in Copper Ridge because you can't afford the gas to get up there. And so we struggle with some of our locations that are just difficult for people to get to.
Okay, my basket's empty, so if you have another question you want to send, I have some, don't worry. You can still bring it up. Okay, so this is a two-part question. So last night at the board meeting, the results of the Hanover survey were presented. And I would like to know, so two parts. So what do you think is the most important finding from that survey for parents to know about? And then the second one is, was there any finding that you were surprised by or unexpected?
So I don't know how many of you have participated in the climate survey before, answered the questions. Thank you, because that's really important for us to get the feedback from parents. The overall survey response rate was lower this time than it was in the first 2 years of administration. So I'm hoping that we can get a larger percent of parents participating next year when we do it in the spring. The most concerning part of the survey results for me is the disconnect in terms of the students liking school, the slide that we showed in terms of engagement measures. And you could really see the impact of the pandemic. So from an academic perspective, we've been tracking, okay, what's the impact here and across the state of Arizona? And we've actually recovered in many respects at various grade levels. But when it comes to the social-emotional side of the equation and the disruptive impact on how students feel about school, do they feel a sense of belonging? Do they like to come to school? Those indicators that really tell a story about their level of commitment to the work, that's very different. The teachers and the parents didn't see it. So there's a wide gap between how the students responded to those questions and how the parents and students did. So for me, it's that gap that was most disconcerting, but also a huge opportunity for us. Hanover this morning sent an email with a national comparison on climate surveys. And so there are many ways that what we're seeing here in Scottsdale are very similar to what people are seeing all across the country. And it just represents an opportunity to create the kind of learning environment where students feel safe, they feel a sense of belonging, they're welcome to be there, and they want to be there. And so we'll continue to work on that.
What do you think is the most important finding for parents to know about?
For parents, I still think it's that. When you look at the gap in terms of what parents perceive about the educational learning environment and what students perceive, it's that dissonance that's there. And so I think those conversations, remember, we surveyed middle school and high school students only, no elementary. So the conversations that parents have with their students about their experience is really important, and the feedback loop, right? As kids move into middle school, there's this separation. They connect more with their peers. They're trying to figure out what's going on biologically. But that's really a time where parents need to be dialed in, ask questions, and then when you have a concern, raise that. Talk with the student's teacher, talk with the principal, talk with the counselor, because we want to be there to support our students. So when they struggle or when they're uncertain of something, we want to identify those concerns early so that they get the support they need to be successful.
Okay, this one's a little embarrassing for me to admit, but I don't know a lot about the district's strategic plan. So I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit. And then like last night at the board meeting, you guys were talking about the results in relation to how you're going to move forward with those goals.
So I carry around with me every now and then a copy of the printed strategic plan, which you can find on our website. But it's a product of 18 months of work with a diverse group of stakeholders, really focusing on our vision of engaging all students in world-class, future-focused learning. And as a school district, Scottsdale Unified, you know this, you've been here for a while, is a really solid school district. We do a lot of things really well, but we have many opportunities for improvement. So the strategic plan really focuses our work on 5 core areas, starting with academic excellence. And that is our driving emphasis. You know, we talk about how are the students and how do we know. We're here to promote student achievement. So there have been subtexts and narratives saying, well, Scottsdale's not about achievement. We are. But we recognize you can't get high levels of achievement if you don't attend to goal number 2, and that's about culture and climate. That's the soil in which our students are learning and growing. So in order to get to academic achievement, you have to have a healthy culture and climate. Goal number 3 is about attracting and retaining top talent, because you will not produce the highest levels of achievement for students if you aren't attracting and retaining the highest levels of talent at all levels of the organization. That's goal number 3. Goal number 4 recognizes that schools can't do it alone. So we talk about strategic partnerships with the community being broadly defined, not only business and industry, but nonprofits and our parents. All of the partnerships that we have are essential to supporting student learning and achievement at the highest level. And the 5th of our goals is optimizing resources. We don't have unlimited resources. As you know, Arizona has not been one of the highest funded states for public education. In fact, we might be 47th now, depending on what metric you're looking at. But that doesn't mean that we can't be strategic about how we utilize the resources we have. I will also say that in Scottsdale, the voters have been very supportive with the bond issue in 2016 and the maintenance operating override vote in 2019. Those have all been really helpful for us in terms of providing the necessary resources to ensure that we have safe and secure buildings, that they are maintained in an appropriate way to create a healthy learning environment for our students. So within the strategic plan, there are commitments under each of those 5 goals. And then the board identified and approved, with the support of the team, key performance indicators. At the end of the day, this is about not just where we say we want to go, but how are we going to hold ourselves accountable for getting there. And we have high levels of achievement for some of our students, but we have tremendous opportunity for many others. And so our commitment is to work in concert around these 5 goals and hold ourselves accountable with the key performance indicators to ensure that every student in Scottsdale, regardless of their zip code, regardless of any demographic characteristic, that they have the opportunity to thrive and be successful when they move through our system and then into post-secondary education and then future adult responsibilities.
Okay, I have a question for Dr. Benson. What are you most excited about for this school year coming back to SUSD?
That's a fun strengths-based list. It's been fun to reconnect with persons and meet new people to the district, so the relationships and reestablishing relationships with those I knew before and meeting new people. I'm most excited about working across groups with stakeholders, parent groups, student groups, principal groups, and those across the district to support that areas that we've identified in the strategic plan. Most persons taking a look at the strategic plan will say what future-focused vision that we can get behind that looks to be well designed and thoughtful for 18 months. So very excited to be supporting those areas moving forward. I just wanted to kind of piggyback when we talked about coherence and alignment in the strategic plan and how we're going to try to respond to the results of the Hanover data that was just posed as a question a few minutes ago. The first district early release is in a couple of weeks, and so to be helping our teachers bring it to the forefront how important engagement is, every single kid, every single day throughout that class period, climate and culture, and giving our teachers the tools, making sure we have the tools to de-escalate or respond to student behaviors, that kind of thing. So promoting those kind of connections, making sure we're taking care of kids, excited about that, and working with all stakeholders as we do so.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Does anyone else have anything? Oh, Emmy has one.
Sure. I was just going to say that the student voice is so important, and the district's student advisory committee is wonderful how you guys are doing that. But do you have any other suggestions at the district level or for school level to make student voices more vocal?
So one of the things that we hope to do, and it will take a little bit of time, is to expand the student advisory board beyond just the 5 high schools. So this summer I was at a gathering of other superintendents from around the country, and a former superintendent from the state of Washington had done that with all of our schools, elementary, middle, and high school. And so while our high schools have been doing this for a couple of years now, we want to figure out how do we engage student voice in constructive ways at the elementary and middle school. We've not even had the conversation with our principals yet, so I'm looking at Grace and Veronica, recognizing they don't know this, but we want to create representative groups for students to share, and I think you have student councils at middle school level. So it's how do we tap into that so that we're creating that pipeline of information. There are new laws in the state of Arizona, so we're not going to be issuing a lot of surveys. That becomes a touch point for people. But we are going to continue to engage in meaningful conversation about what's working for students in the learning environment, what would they like to see improved. The Hanover survey, 13% of the students thought they had clean bathrooms, which means, a very high percentage of students really didn't like the bathrooms. And I can't tell you for sure, except for that's their perception, and so therefore their reality.
That's what I hear many days from my high schooler.
And so I think things that might seem a little less related to academics still are important in terms of their learning environment and how we respond. And we want to engage them all in that process so that they have a sense of self-efficacy. When there's an issue or concern, we want them to bring it forward, and then we can work with them to either help them understand why things are the way they are, or to make better the things that they've brought to our attention.
Okay, thank you very much, both Dr. Benson and Dr. Menzel.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and love seeing so many people here. And please keep using Let's Talk. That really does help us track what the issues and concerns are as they emerge.
Okay, so we're going to move into the overview of SPC part of the meeting. Some of you might have heard some of this information before. So SPC, we're nonpartisan, non-sectarian, nonprofit Arizona corporation, and we promote communication, collaborative relationships between SUSD families, district leadership, and staff. And then the second part of our mission is that we all work together to support and advocate for the highest quality education of students in attending schools in the district. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that actually looks like. But first, I'm going to introduce our executive board. A fair amount of us are here tonight. Not all of us could make it. So I'm the president, Kim McClure. Our treasurer is Kirsten Markson, and we'll hear from her later. Where are you, Kirsten? Okay, so yeah, you stand up and wave. That would be awesome. Carrie, are you here? Oh, I don't think Carrie could come. I think a lot of it's Chaparral Curriculum Night and a few others too. So Our VP of Programming is Alex Dunn. So Alex is going to be the one who schedules all of these amazing general meetings that you're going to attend this year. Our VPs of SBC representatives are Lena Dunn and Kara Wacker. Kara's right here, and I don't know if Lena can make it tonight. Oh, there you are. Hi. Okay. Our Vice President of Advocacy is Brian Novak, and you're also going to hear from him later tonight. And our VPs of Outreach could not be here today. One of them is stuck in an airport, unfortunately. Denise Gonzalez and Kathleen Horowitz. And our VP of Communications also cannot be here. Her name is Julie Levitch, so we'll introduce them again later when they can be here. And our past president, who I may or may not be asking a ton of questions to, is Emmy Cardella back here. Okay, so I want to return to kind of, in describing what SBC is, I kind of told you the definition of what SBC is, and now I really want to talk about, explain what it has to offer district families. And really what I think SBC offers is access. So we have access to each other, and then we also have access to the district, to the administration. We just finished a Q&A with Dr. Menzel and Dr. Benson. Okay, so thinking about access to each other, I kind of wanted to put some numbers in that. So this is a map of the district. And if you look in the lower pink corner, that's the southernmost, where our schools are located. And of course, families who choose SUSD live all over the district. But I think the southernmost school, I'm pretty sure, is Yavapai. The northernmost school is Copper Ridge. Those are about 19 miles apart, right, those learning communities, which is a 30-minute drive if you're lucky in terms of traffic. And if you think east-west across the district, Arcadia and Tavon are actually kind of tied for being the westernmost schools. And then the easternmost school, I'm pretty sure, is Mountainside. Those are also about 19 miles apart, 30-minute drive. So that's really what SPC does. We kind of, I think that, how often do you meet with people who live 30 minutes away from you or interact with them? It can be hard. And that's really what we do, is we make it easy to bring people together from all over the valley who attend SUSD. Okay, so I want to return back to our mission. So access to each other, access to the district, that's really how we promote collaborative relationships between people who might not otherwise interact. And so I put the mission slide here because now I'm going to talk about the finances that we need to fulfill our mission. Oh wait, I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to talk about how we fulfill our mission. So we do it in 4 main ways. The first you're sitting in right now. So we have monthly general meetings. They normally will not be me talking very much, which is a good thing. We'll have a speaker from the district on a topic, and then sometimes we'll have updates from the executive board and then updates from schools. And we're going to work hard to try to encourage schools to give more updates throughout the year instead of just having it happen at our celebration meeting in May. So the second way that we fulfill our mission, bringing people together and promoting collaborative relationships, is our VPs of Outreach organize roundtables. So PTO, PTA, I should have put APT on the slide, whatever the parent organization is called at schools. Our goal is each quarter to bring them together and let them talk about best practices, how they handle fundraising in their community, how they get parents to engage in their community. The feedback that we've had from roundtables has always been really positive. So I encourage you to talk to members of your parent organization's board, ask them if they went to a roundtable and see how it went, because they always are very well received by people who attend them. The third way we do it are special events. And then the fourth way are committees. Okay, so some examples of general meetings that we hosted last year. We had a topic of school safety. We could probably have that one again, given the changes that have happened. We had a meeting on CTE offerings. We had a meeting on student discipline. And then we also had one on Title I funds, kind of what they are and how they actually benefit all SUSD students, not just families, not just students from families who qualify for free or reduced lunch. And then the other thing that general meetings do is they foster community. I think this is most obvious in the end of year celebration in May, right, where we have each school send slides from their year. And there was like a lot of shared experiences that the schools are going through. But, you're here and you guys are all going to chat when I'm done talking, and that's how we build community. You also never know what you'll learn at general meetings. So one of our executive board members at our January meeting on CTE, he learned about EVIT and realized that was a good fit for their students. So you never know kind of what you'll learn at a general meeting. Okay, so roundtable, as I mentioned earlier, so PTO, PTA, APTs meet, share best practices for community engagement. Special events we've hosted in the past. We had a representative from SOS Arizona come and give a talk on bills going through the legislature that were related to education. So you could decide whether you wanted to get in touch with your representative, to support or to ask that they support or not support a bill. And we had a representative from the Center for the Future of Arizona come and talk about what Arizonans think about different issues of policy, and we agree. My take home from that one was we agree on a lot of things, way more than than people might think we do. We hosted an event on news literacy, and this year we have a special event planned, which you're going to hear more details about later. But SBC is in partnership with some other local organizations. We are going to host a question and answer forum for candidates running for SUSD governing board. Okay, we also have committees. Right now we have 4. We have a special education committee, social responsibility, an equity, diversity, and inclusion committee, and a gifted education committee. These are a really easy way to get involved in SBC if you're not a rep, but which we're going to talk about in a minute, and they are open to anyone to join. Okay, so keeping our mission in mind, right? We foster relationships and collaboration with the district. So that does require a little bit of funds. So we have to carry liability insurance in order to reserve this room tonight. And there are other expenses associated with hosting meetings, like the cost to have IT give me the microphone that works and be live streaming this meeting. And so historically, we've asked that each school in the district donate $100 to help us cover these expenses. So other things that we have to pay for, we have a website where we post all of the meetings. We have including links to our YouTube channel, so you can watch the meetings even if you couldn't attend. We have email, and so we can email you, and so you can email us. We have a business license. We have accounting software, because I'm about to give you a budget report, and that's where it comes from. And then we do also offer Spanish interpretation and translation so that we can connect with all families who attend the district. Okay, so I'm going to let Kirsten, our treasurer, present our budget for this year.
Can we come up there?
Yeah, or I can bring you a microphone.
Very simple budget. It covers all the things that Kim just outlined. Here are the line items. So the column on the left, the fundraising. So we are expecting the donations from schools, a few donations from individuals, things like that to build our kind of small budget that we then subtract our expenses, mostly administrative, as she outlined. So insurance, Zoom, accounting software, website, business license, et cetera. So the goal here is to cover, to raise enough to cover expenses so we could supply the special events. We could live stream the meetings. We have refreshments and things like that. It's very simple. So you can see that we are a little bit, we have a little bit of extra at the end of our planned budget, just a few $100s, and that is dependent on making sure we get the donations from schools that we are expecting, et cetera. But it's a very simple budget. Anything else you want to add?
So this I am working on applying for grant funding, so that's something I'm trying to also kind of diversify our income stream, if you will. But yeah.
Any questions on that, or?
Do the schools know that they have to give you $100 or give SBC, or do we have to go back to our schools and request the $100?
So it's a voluntary donation, and if a school does not want to donate, then that's why I'm applying for grants, and we have other we can accept donations from individuals, but they might not know. So I am trying to get the word out, and so if you guys want to talk to your school, that would be phenomenal. I sent an email through the I'm going to mess up the Administrators Association to also try to explain it there too. But yeah, we always need to get the word out. Any other questions about budget? Yeah. So Amazon Smile actually is an option, and it's passive fundraising. That is our passive fundraising, yeah. So we have a QR code or something for that we can put on. But yeah, we got $100 from it last year. So yes, we do have an option for that. Yeah. Yep.
Good idea.
Good. Okay, so Kara or Lena or both of you want to talk about reps?
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Kira. So there's two of us that are handling reps this year, me and Lena. So ultimately, we need 2 reps per school. The way it works is the principals appoint these reps. So if they have somebody in their school community who's been pretty active on campus or in PTO, or has expressed interest in repping for the school, that would be great. It's really the connection between the school parents, the community, our district, and really getting the parents to say what they want to see happen in our district. And the only way to do that is if we get some people from each school to share that information for the other parents to us. They would also help keep the schools noticed with the SBC meetings and events, things like that, share all those informations with us and their school community. They'll collaborate with the reps from other schools and get ideas for fundraisers, volunteers, programs, etc. And then they'll vote on behalf of the school community for the executive board. Any questions? Anybody that has previously repped that's here tonight that would be interested, please come talk to us. Any questions? No? Perfect.
Okay, so now we're going to get into upcoming events. And Alex, this is you. You want to talk? So I'm going to send this out. Go ahead. You can talk about that. All right. So Alex is my VP of programming, so he's going to be scheduling all of these meetings. Making sure that we have a speaker and that they know where to come and where. Okay, so the thing I want to point out on this slide is we meet once a month. I'm going to send out, we're going to post all these meetings on our social media, on our website. Actually, they're in the calendar now, and I'll send an email with them. But we alternate meeting in the evening and in the morning. So the next meeting is September 21st, and it'll be at 9 o'clock in the morning. October 19th will then be at 6 o'clock. So we alternate between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. All the meetings are recorded onto YouTube, so if you can't attend, you can watch later. Okay, so our next meeting is September 21st here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to hear from Shannon Crozier, who's our Chief Financial Officer, about SUSD finances. And she can talk about what she wants, but I did ask her to present facts of the override, and then also to talk about how SUSD audits their finances. Okay, this is Brian.
Good evening, everybody. So in case you don't watch the news or drive down anywhere in Scottsdale, it's an election year. So in order to support the election of upcoming candidates for our school board, we, along with a couple of community partners, both the United Methodist Church, Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce, and Scottsdale Progress, are hosting a forum for the candidates. There are 5 candidates running for 2 open board seats. We would love you all to attend on the 27th of September at the Methodist Church, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. If you cannot attend, we will be recording the forum and streaming it, not live, but streaming it after on probably YouTube. But most importantly, we are going to be soliciting questions from the community in advance. So we will be sending a flyer to everyone to share with your home districts or your home schools to encourage people to submit questions, and this group of individuals will be kind of vetting those questions and asking the candidates live on the 27th. Yes. They are not. So currently we have 3 confirmed out of the 5. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good question. So Mary, Rob, and Andrea have all 3 confirmed their attendance at our forum. So anybody else? Yes.
Have the other 2 said that they're not coming or just not responding?
Yeah, the other 2 have prior commitments, so they're unable to attend. Anybody else? Hope to see you all there. Thanks.
Okay, do you want to talk about it? So I'll say while Kara's coming up here, in September, we're going to have each of our committees come present about what they do and hopefully, drum up interest for more parent participation. But the Special Education Committee is a rock star, and they already have an event planned. And so Kara's going to talk about that.
So I also am going to be the liaison for the Special Ed Committee this year. So we're going to have a Meet the SPED team event on the 31st here at 6 o'clock. So if you're able to make it, or if you have other friends who have children in the special ed community, please pass the word. Any school principals, please pass the word as well. But please join us for that event to hear more. Hopefully, there'll be some clarification on the 504 IEPs. I have a daughter in the program in the community, so I get parents that don't even know the differences between 504s and IEPs and who qualifies, who doesn't. So this will really give those parents a really good informational session with that team.
So this is specific to the SPED team administration. We're going to have a general meeting actually on 504 versus IEP that Alex will be scheduling soon, but we don't know when that's going to happen yet. But this is specifically for parents who need IEPs to meet the SPED team. We are going to record this meeting. It will not be live streamed, but it will be recorded and put on, made available for parents who can't attend in the evening. And that's all we have. If anyone has any questions, otherwise, yes, Mike.
I got a question. When you and Emmy and I met, I don't know, a couple months ago, we talked about the committees having specific, tangible, kind of measurable goals and objectives for each committee. Is that going to be part of the presentation in September, that they're going to outline what those goals are?
So historically, we've had committees present at this meeting, in the August meeting, and the reason why we did not do that is because they are going to be, I'm asking them to look at their mission statements and kind of revise and update them as needed, because I don't know when the last time some of them were updated. But yes, that's what they'll be talking about in September.
Okay, is it your plan then maybe on a recurring, rotating basis to have each committee kind of do a status report at this general meeting as we go out through the year?
Yeah, so, right, we're all volunteers, so it's hit or miss. But yeah, I would really, that's something that we've talked about in the executive board too. Our VP of Communications, who cannot be here, is interested in potentially starting a newsletter on our website. So that's another way that we could have committee updates, because sometimes, it's hard to attend these meetings, but yeah.
That there's a lot going on in committees. There's a lot that goes on in the committees, and I'm not sure that the SPC as a whole is even aware of, let alone, up to date on what they're doing and that sort of thing. So that would be good if we could have that communication out to the larger group. Okay, thank you.
There's a lot, as to paraphrase Dr. Menzel, there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve in getting the word out. So yeah, and any ideas you have, I'm open to hearing. That is my email address on the slide. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you on September 21st.
Don't forget your bundt cakes.
Oh yeah, seriously, please take an entire box. We got free bundt cakes delivered.